My name is Dr. Jamilu Shehu, your guide for nursing research. Today, we are going to look at data collection method. If you like, you call it research techniques. There are two types of research techniques. The first one is qualitative research, and the second one is quantitative research. But qualitative and quantitative, we are going to look at them in different subheading. The first is objective of this data collection. The second one is sample of data collection. The third one is data collection itself. The fourth one is data analysis. And the fifth one is output or findings from this data collection. Under objective, we'll look at quantitative research. Under quantitative research, the essence of this qualitative research is to gain a qualitative understanding of the underlying reasons. What are the reasons behind this data collection? Then in quantitative is to quantify the data and generalize the result from the sample to the population of the interest. Yes, you have a target. You collected data. Yes, who are your target? The population. What is the number of the populace you are targeting? That is under quantitative. Then we'll go to sample. Under sample, in qualitative is a small number of non-representative cases, while under quantitative is a large number of representative cases. Then data collection, under data collection subheading, under qualitative is unstructured, while in qualitative is structured. While because when you say unstructured, you can collect data anyhow. There is no any standard format for it. All you are after is how do you get the data? To get the data is your target. But in quantitative, it's structured. You have to structure it. Okay, is it profile by profile? Is it house by house? Is it town by town? Like that. How do I get my data? Then under the data analysis, under qualitative, there is non-statistical and there is statistical under quantitative. What do we mean by non-statistical? Meaning you don't need any statistical inference for your analysis. You don't need any software like maybe you can say maybe SPSS. Is a package, is a software for social science or physical science. Maybe regression analysis. You don't need all those things. You can only maybe rely on all this simple bar chart, pie chart. You don't need any software. But in quantitative, it's statistical, meaning you need all these softwares to run your data and analyze it. Then what is the expected output? In qualitative, the output is developing an initial understanding. All you are trying to do is to develop a knowledge, an initial knowledge for people to build upon. While in the quantitative, you recommend a final course of action. In this one, because it's structured, you are trying to bring ideas and make suggestion of your findings and even recommendation. So meaning you are trying to recommend a final course of action. You want an action to be taken at the end of the result. So now under quantitative is trying to answer some questions. The questions are why and how a particular thing happened. But under quantitative is how much. It's question about how much, how many, and how often these things happen. That is under data collection, or if you so wish, you call it research techniques. Then we go to type of research as far as nursing profession is concerned. We have four major types of research in nursing. The first one is biomedical research. The second one is clinical research. The third one is epidemiological research. And the last one is health system research. So we'll do justice to this one after the other. The first one is biomedical research. This is basically research that has to do with basic biological processes structures and function of the human body, pathological mechanism. This has to do with the biology, basic biological processes, structure, and function of the human body, pathological mechanism. As the lecture progresses, we are going to give example of each of these 4 types of research in nursing. Then for clinical research, we are trying to show the efficacy of preventive, diagnostic, and therapeutic procedure, natural history of the diseases, how diseases started, how they are transformed, and how they affect patient. Then we go to epidemiological research, which is talking about the frequency of the disease, the distribution, and determinant of the health. Then the last one is health system research. Under health system is trying to tell us effectiveness, quality, and cost services, development and distribution of the resources of care. This has to do with the management of healthcare itself. That is why it has to do with the effectiveness. How effective are some of this research to the organization, to healthcare providers? How is the quality of service and the cost of service delivery, the development and distribution of the resources for the care of this needy? Then again, we'll look at the example under each of the 4 headings. The first one we said is it has to do with biomedical research. The second one, clinical, epidemiological research, and health system research. So for example, if we want to look at prevalence and risk factors of surgical site infection among admitted patients in general hospital manner, for example, we are trying to look at that is, we are trying to look at epidemiological research. That is why we are looking at the prevalence and risk factors of surgical site infection. So where this topic, this is just an example of the topic, is trying to look at, okay, what are the factors, what are the risks associated with patients that undergo surgery. So, you know, in each of these areas, there are likely infection that may likely affect a patient. So in epidemiological research, it's trying to look at the prevalence and risk factors of surgical site infection among admitted patients in general hospital. So this is a clear example of epidemiological research. Then we go to clinical research. This, in clinical will try to study the effectiveness of Coartem in treating malaria. How effective is Coartem anti-malaria in treating malaria patients? Then in hospital services, example, we want to give like 2 or 3. It has to do with the application of principle of research on the health sector. That is, it's talking about the entirety of the organization. Then the second aspect is it is the generation of new knowledge using a scientific method to identify and deal with health problems. For example, the traditional way we are running the administration of the healthcare, we discover that, okay, it's not doing fine. The result is not forthcoming. Then we'll have to undertake a research to see to bring in new knowledge. And when this new knowledge is in place, how do we implement it? It must be a knowledge using a scientific method to identify and deal with these problems. So provided that research is able to solve some problem and is implemented without any hitches, then you can categorize it under health system research. Then we can give now a clear example to say study of the underlying reason for emergency hospital admission for patients with diabetes. You discover that diabetes is very common now. So how do we now try to reduce this issue to reduce the overburden of this patient to the hospital? So that is why we say the study of underlying reasons for emergency hospital admission of patient with diabetes. So these are some of the examples. So don't forget, we discuss data collection, we mention qualitative and quantitative, and we discuss all this under objective sample data collection, data analysis, and outcome. And we also discuss 4 types of research in nursing profession. We mentioned biomedical research, we mentioned clinical research, epidemiological research, health system research, and we gave example of each. Then now we are going to look at the characteristics of research. What are the features of research? What are the characteristics? What do you see that you know that, yes, this is a research? The first one is research. It demands a clear statement of the problem. You cannot conduct a research without identifying, okay, what is the problem I'm trying to solve? That is why we call it statement of the research problem. You must identify a gap in knowledge that you want to fill. Then the second one is it requires a plan. You don't just go into research without any plan. You must have a time frame for you to achieve a particular target in research. It builds on existing data. Yes, somebody can collect data, interpret that data in a different form. It's possible for you to collect same data and use it differently in using a different data analysis, and you get different results for the purpose of research. It builds on existing data using both positive and negative findings. Yes, both your findings, either positive or negative, as far as research is concerned, is useful. Then new data should be collected as required and be organized in such a way that they answer the original research question. Since you have a research question, your data, the new data you are collecting, must be put in place, must be organized in such a way that it will answer the research problem, research question that you have set for yourself at the beginning of your research. Then research project follow a logical sequence. It follows a sequence. It has a steps that you have to follow. You don't just go into research and say, okay, without statement of the problem, without topic, without introducing, that is the background to the study, you say you want to go into data collection. It's not possible. So it has a sequence, a logical sequence in which a research is conducted. Then it is a circular process. It has a cycle, just the way we have cycle. It has a chain. You have to do it in such a way that it must follow that chain. What is this chain? Then we call it research cycle. So in this one, you have to identify a problem. That is the cycle. That's the first one. Then after identifying, okay, this is the problem I want to solve. Is it a communal? Is it a societal? Is it a national problem? Is it a local problem? Is it a family problem? You must first identify a problem. Then secondly, you have to plan for that research. Okay, you have identified a problem. So now sit down and make planning. Plan on how to carry out that research. Then after planning, then you go into implementation, implementing the research. Then the fourth one is disseminating findings. After implementing the research is carried out, you have to disseminate information, your findings. You make your findings available. That is why it's a research. Then the last one is application turning into action. Then you make recommendation on the action necessary to be taken to solve that problem. How the implementation of this will now, after you make your findings available, then you will now go into implementation. Are you the one to implement? Is it government? Is it a particular organization? After you make your finding, you will now make recommendation for optimal use of your research. Then we go to a component of research. We have several components, but we are going, for the purpose of this course, nursing research, we are going to restrict ourselves to main component of the research. What are these main components? Number one is research will not be conducted without all these components. Anyone that is missing, then is no more a research. Because we mentioned earlier that it's a cycle, it's a chain that you have to follow. You cannot do without the other one. The first one is you have to prepare a research proposal. You have to After identifying a problem you have to meet your supervisor to know that whether this is researchable or not. That is why you have to know the background. You give an overview, a brief background, not more than 1 or 2 pages. Then you go to fieldwork. If you so wish, you call it fieldwork or data collection. You collect your data, then the third one, you go into analyzing the data and preparing a research report. After you collected your data, you sit down, look at the method you use. Are you using qualitative or quantitative method of data collection? Are you using qualitative or quantitative method of analyzing your data? Which software are you using to analyze your data? After analyzing your data, you prepare your research report using existing knowledge. Like I mentioned, you have to, in our last lecture, I mentioned you have to review journals, manuscript, textbook to see what previous researchers have done, and that will help you to go a long way. So then again, after these 3 stages, these are the 3 major components of research. Then we go into planning research. That is way for you to develop or developing a proposal. How do you develop a proposal? Then these steps will help you in developing a proposal or you plan your research. The first one is the development of a health project go through number of stages. It must go through number of stages. Number 1 is formulating of the research proposal. You must formulate a topic. You must formulate a proposal. This formulation of proposal is the process of developing a research project. You have to develop a topic for you to go into this research project. A written proposal is important. A written proposal is important for several reasons. Number 1 is, to clearly define the problem. Once you have a written proposal, it will clearly state or define the problem you want to solve. Secondly, to avoid reinventing the wheel, meaning you avoid repetition. Is it a research that somebody has done? Then there is no need for you to key into that research. It's the problem or the justification for the research is 0. Then again, to clearly depict the methodology to be used, you have to clearly define the methodology you want to achieve your proposal. Then also to cost and time conscious. It has to be, you have to cost to know, do you have the resources to undertake that research? Then you have to be time conscious. Then the last one is to be clear about what to evaluate at the end. What do you likely going to achieve at the end of the research? If you know at the end you don't have objective, and each objective, like I mentioned, has to be measurable, has to be achievable. If you know at the end you are not going to achieve anything, you don't need to venture into such research. So therefore, these are factors that you must key into before undergoing into any written proposal. We mentioned the component of research. We mentioned planning research or developing a proposal, then the way steps in which you do a written proposal. Then now we go into components or outline of a research proposal. What are the outline? What are the key features of a research proposal? The first one is research topic. Like I mentioned, you must know the problem you want to solve for you to form a topic. For example, what I stated, you want to study the prevalence and risk factor associated with surgical site infection among admitted patients in general hospital. So you see, that can be a good topic. Or maybe you want to study the underlying reason for emergency hospital admission of patients with diabetes. Why are they rushing them into emergency? Is it that they are not taking drugs as recommended by physicians, as recommended by doctors? Is it that they allow the problem to deteriorate before they rush them? Why is it that they are always rushing emergency patients of diabetes? They are rushing them into emergency. Or maybe you want to test the effectiveness of quality, effectiveness, quality and cost of service development, and distribution of resources of care. Okay, how are the resources being effectively and quality of the cost of the service? Is it cost effective or not? Are they getting what they are spending on it or not? These are some of the topics one can look at in carrying out research. So each of these topics I mentioned are targeted towards achieving or towards solving a particular problem. Then the second one is summary. Summary topic is just like a title. Then summary is just the background to the study. You give a brief overview. You give a brief history of what you want to do. Then again, after that, you go into statement of the problem. You have to state the reason, the wisdom behind that your research. Then the summary should not be more than 1 page or 2. Then statement of the problem should not be more than a page or half page. Then you go into literature review. Literature review is people's work that you review to show that yes, there is a gap in knowledge that you want to cover. Meaning, under this literature review, you have to state the name of the authors. You also state the topic, the year, the topic, the method they use, and the findings. That is the result of their findings. Then after literature review, you have to also show justification of the study. This should not be more than half page or half a page. Then again, you have to state your aims/objective. What is the aim of your research? What are the objectives? The aim is to solve a particular problem. So you have to be clear and distinctive to show that yes, this is your aim. Then you have to also state your objective. An objective must be measurable, must be achievable at the end of the research. Then you go into methodology or methods. What is the method you are going to use to achieve this your research? Then number 8 is ethical consideration. You have to look at the ethical consideration. What are the ethics in achieving in this profession that will allow you to achieve this? Then the 9th one is dissemination and utilization of results. You have to make this your findings available. You have to utilize the resources available, and you must be time conscious. I have a page or a page. Then you must have a work plan. You can't conduct a research without a work plan. You must have a work plan. Then you go into cost of the project. You must know, do you have the resources to undergo such a research you want to embark upon? Then you go into references. All the literature you review, all the other people's work you undergo, you must cite them. After citing, if you are, for example, taking a statement, you want to say, okay, there is this work that I review that Dr. So-so person used. You have to mention that person. You say so-so person. If there are more than 2, you say a tall. Once we see a tall, meaning etc., etc. Then if there are no more than 2, you say Jamil and Ibrahim, 2002. After you cite it, you must make sure that it's at the reference. Any work that you cited must be in the reference. Any work that is in the reference must be cited. So you have to ensure, but as far as nursing profession is concerned, the most common referencing method used is Vancouver style. But the conventional reference style is APA. That's American Psychological Association. That's the most common worldwide. But as far as nursing profession is concerned, we will restrict ourselves to Vancouver style of reference. Then you have to have an annex. Any data you collected that you think is bulky, any data that cannot be in the project, then you have to attach it as an annex or appendix. Any of the name you call it is appropriate. Then you go into assurance of investigator. You must have a clear statement that there is no clash of interest between the investigator. because research that is conducted by a group of researchers is more better than the research conducted by a single author, because where you are deficient, somebody will correct you and pick up from there. Then after this outline of research proposal, we will now go into selecting and identifying a nursing research. How do you select? Because it's a problem as far as nursing profession is concerned. You discover that students are good, but it becomes a problem for them to select a topic. So this will help them in identifying a research problem. One, you have to identify a problem. You must ensure that there exists a problem before you select your topic. Then the second one is list a criteria for prioritizing research problem. You must have a steps in which you now prioritize. Okay, if I go with this, which problem is more prevalent? Then you have to look at it and know which research will be viable and which one will not be viable. Then another one is write a research topic. You have to have a clear topic, a distinction. Analyze the problem. You have to analyze the problem. Okay, I want to go into the importance of exercise. If you want to go into importance or effective exercise in staff of Standard College of Nursing Science, okay, you have to have some indices to evaluate. Do they conduct a research? Okay, if they don't, you want to bring them and know how effective is that research. Is it making them healthy? Is it helping them health-wise or not? These are some of the things. Then you have to formulate the statement of a problem. You must have a statement, a reason why you want to key into such research. Then you must write a justification. You must give reason, you must justify. If you like, you call it rationale behind the research. How do we now identify? The next thing is problem identification. We must identify a problem. How do we now identify that there is a gap, there is a problem that we want to solve? The first thing is we can identify a problem if in any situation where a gap exists between the actual and the desired. Okay, this is how people are doing. For example, in nursing, in school of nursing, this is their method of teaching, but you think it's not the best. Then you can now bring in your idea. You build in on existing knowledge. That is why only situation where a gap exists, you think, yes, what they are doing is okay, but there is a gap. They need to improve. Then you can now key into it and make it better. Then that is the actual, that is what is in practice, and the desired, where you want to be maybe next year, next 2 years or so. Then another thing is a problem does not necessarily mean that something is seriously wrong or something is bad. No, you can key into research without necessarily identifying a serious problem. It's possible it's a small problem or problem does not exist, but you think there is a better way of doing it. You key into research and bring a better way. You prefer solution. Researchers are always problem solvers. They prefer solution to problems all the time. So these are the two major problems for problem identification. Then the third one is it could simply indicate an interest in improving an existing situation. Yes, like I mentioned earlier, yes, this is how they do it, but you think you can provide a better solution. Then you now key into it to ensure that the standard has been improved. Or maybe a problem definition can include both existing problem in current situation as well as the quest for idealistic state in the future. Okay, for example, now you know, yes, this is Standard College of Nursing Science. Okay, you have to be focused. You have to forecast that. Okay, as we're admitting students, the population is increasing. How do we now expand? I'm using expansion as a problem. So how do I now obtain the land at the back beside me so that even if we have 2,000 students, it will not be a problem. So meaning you are forecasting, you are trying to solve problem that you think may arise in future. These are some of the ideas behind research. Maybe whether there is a gap in an existing knowledge, whether there is no gap, there is a problem, but the problem is not that serious, or maybe it's just an interest. You have an interest in research to improve the existing knowledge, or maybe you are forecasting for the future. So these are the four major areas for identifying a problem. Then let me briefly summarize what we have done. We discussed about data collection. We mentioned qualitative and quantitative under different headings, under objective, under samples and data collection, under data analysis and outcome or findings. We also mentioned types of research: biomedical research, clinical research, epidemiological research, health system research. We gave example and how they are applied to each of the headings. Then we also discussed characteristics of research. If you like, you say features of research. Then we also mentioned research cycle. I mentioned research is a cycle. You don't just sit down and key into research. You have to identify a problem, you plan for the research, you implement the research, you disseminate information or findings, then your application turn it into reality or action. Then we also discuss main component of research. We also look at planning research or developing a proposal. We also look at outline of research proposal. We also look at selection and identifying nursing research problem. We also discuss problem identification, and in our next lecture, God willing, next week, we look at where can we get a research problem. So that will be our continuation for next week. Where can we get a research problem? How to search for a problem to solve. Since research is all about systematic way of bringing in a new knowledge. We'll stop here. God's willing, next week we'll continue. We'll call it a day. Thank you for listening. Have a wonderful day.